Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of In The Crosshairs presented by Line Sniper, your definitive source for sports betting content and in-game analysis. I am your host, Ali Melendez, coming to you live from inside our gorgeous Line Sniper studio. And like every episode, we have a ton of sports to cover and, of course, a ton of bets to give. So let's jump right into the rundown. First, we take it to the dugout to talk about baseball with our man Jalen. Now, he's going to run you guys through this week's games and talk about the hot streak Dodgers. Mr. Joey Knish is back, so of course we can ask him some more of the big questions about the football season before it actually starts, so you guys can lock in those lines nice and early. And our resident sports betting professor, Red Dave, will be here to give us everything you could possibly want to know about how to make money this week, courtesy of the NBA. All of that and more on this episode of In the Crosshairs, brought to you by Line Sniper. And if you need any of this expert information once again, or you simply want to see any of the other futures, MVP picks, of course, overall winners, you can find all that good stuff on our YouTube channel, Line Sniper HQ. But before I spend too long talking to you guys about anything that is not sports related, let's jump right into sports. And like I said, today we have a lot of stuff to cover. We are starting off with baseball and the MLB. Unless you're the St. Louis Cardinals, the MLB feels pretty much normal for a change. Now, games every day, everyone's fighting for their spot in the playoffs, and okay, somehow the Marlins are number one in the NL East, so maybe not everything is normal, but either way, we have our MLB analyst Jalen here to run us through everything going down in baseball. Jalen, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. It's great to have all the games back, almost all the teams playing.
Oh my gosh.
And again, like you said, I'm surprised every day when I wake up and see the Marlins at the top of the standings in their division.
Absolutely. Now, glad to hear it. Obviously, good to see you, Jalen. But Jalen, there is no time to waste. We have sports to talk about, baby. And let's start off on the West Coast with the Dodgers. Now, last night, the Dodgers win streak finally came to a close after 11 straight games. Last night, they fell to the Padres, but there are plenty of bettors who are still seeing a lot of money in those LA hills. Jalen, this is moving the Dodgers to the top of a lot of people's list, even for the World Series contenders. How far do you see this Dodgers hype train going? Should bettors keep betting on LA or steer away from these bets as the lines favor the Dodgers more and more?
I mean, I'm riding the Dodgers hype trade all the way. It seems that once they hit their streak, they turn into these unstoppable team, and it should be the case tonight with them taking the series win against San Diego.
Yeah, for sure. All right, the Dodgers to keep their momentum, at least for now. Jalen says you can count on LA to keep paying out for you. And Jalen, I had mentioned a bit earlier, a lot of people have the Dodgers to actually go all the way now, or at least walk out of the National League with a pennant. Now, Jalen, who do you have winning each of the two leagues? Let me hear it.
I mean, for the National League, we got to go with the Dodgers. They're unstoppable. Despite the couple losses they have in their record, look for them to just keep destroying the competition. And then in the AL, despite the few injuries that they've had early on, we like the Yankees. Their pitching looks good. The hitting looks good. I don't really see any other team in the division or the league stacking up to them.
Yeah, for sure. Even with Giancarlo Stanton going out with a leg injury, Jalen likes the Yankees to take the AL. Now, Stanton going down with a hamstring injury over the weekend, he should make it back in time to, of course, contribute to the latter half of the season. But of course, even in this reduced season, before we worry about the playoffs, we have got to focus on the week ahead. Jalen, we got Cubs versus Indians, Dodgers versus Padres, Yankees, Braves, and the list goes on and on. But Jalen, I want your short list. Who are our winners this week? Who do you like in the MLB?
I mean, I especially like this Cubs team against the Cleveland Indians. Cleveland's pretty hot, but we're looking for the Cubs to ride the hot hand of John Lester tonight. So we got them for the money line. And then we also like Miami Marlins to cover the +1.5 run line tonight against the Blue Jays.
That's great. I mean, it's really not often we encourage anyone to bet on the Marlins. But hey, man, 2020 is a really weird year. It's a weird baseball season, and the Marlins, hey, they don't look as bad as they have in the past, so don't blame you there. But Jalen, we thank you so much for your time. Do not go anywhere because, as always, we're going to bring you back near the end of our show for some round table talk. But in the meantime, let's go from the current baseball season to this fall's football season. And of course, to talk football, I can think of no one I'd rather welcome to the show than our very own Joey Knish. Now, Joey, as always, I'm so happy to have you back. How you feeling, man?
I'm ready to go. Good to be here on a
Your
Tuesday
energy is
with
so
you,
amazing.
I am ready to talk a little NFL. I know the college football season's going off the rails, but I'm not letting it go with the NFL. We're still going to have it. Listen, as long as Roger can still put it together and we can still get on the gridiron for some NFL football this fall, I'll be okay. I'll make it through.
Awesome. I think we all will. Obviously, that's why I have to have you on the show to talk about some football today, because we only have a couple weeks left before the season starts, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about before it actually gets started. Now, we've got futures, we've got win totals, we've got a lot going on, but I do want to start talking about everyone's favorite quarterback, Tom Brady. Now, Knish, love him or hate him, I want to know, do you think Tom Brady is going to bring Tampa to the next level? And what are you looking at for a win total for the Buccaneers this season?
Listen, do I think if every little thing goes right for Tampa, do I think they can be a contender and be a team that's there in the NFC? Absolutely. But for me, there's such a level of variance and things that can go wrong. And Brady, and the simple fact of the matter, he wasn't good last year. So you're putting him in a new system. Can he rebound in the Bruce Arians offense with better weapons and have the type of year? Again, he's defied age, logic, and all of that, and I understand that. But again, a lot has to go right for Tampa this year. The defense has to get better. Brady has to stay healthy. He has to fit in the new system. For me, I would prefer to take the cheap under 9.5. I think there's a lot of public backing here. The Bucs have been a very, very hot team in the offseason. And don't get me wrong, if everything goes right, Tom fits in. Could they get there? Absolutely. I'm not saying this is, a fate of a lifetime here. But for me, there's too much variance going into this season to play a bunch of overs, especially on this Tampa team that could have so much go wrong. Cheap 9.5 there. I'm seeing -103, -105 on 9.5s. It's got to be an under for me.
All right, Knish, so a little faith in a TB12. But yes, Joey says, do not believe the Tampa Bay hype. Bet the Bucs on the under for the wins. All right, and obviously, Knish, as we are getting super close to the season starting off, people are getting their futures locked in, their MVP picks locked in. And before everyone gets everything locked in and set up, Knish, what are the people missing? Like, are there any value picks out there that you just love? Who are you counting on to bring you some money this season? Spill the beans.
No, I know, and when we're talking about buying low, and whether it be fantasy or DFS or players and that, there's really an element of, I like what New Orleans has done with the Emmanuel Sanders signing and being able to pick him up and go into this season as a wide receiver too. So to me, he's able, to then play off of Michael Thomas, maybe come in on what I would say is the, a little bit of an undervalued position since they haven't had that elite wide receiver too. They've been spreading it outside of Thomas. The ball really got spread around to 3-4 options. Not the best wide receiver too that Breeze has had in a long time. If he stays healthy, I know he's up there in a little bit of age, has got a tendency to get nicked up. For me, that's a buy-on type of player, whether it be player prop overs or later rounds in the fantasy draft. He's the type of guy that I'll be looking to add in a couple of different fashions as kind of a buy-low player.
All right, so we're liking Emmanuel Sanders, obviously, with New Orleans this upcoming season. Now, he's been in the NFL since 2010. There's going to be a lot of people just, overlooking him, but Joey says that you maybe should not. Now, Knish, we touched on it a bit earlier, but it's a weird year for sports, and it's probably going to be a really weird football season. I mean, we can hope and pray for a normal year that we all want, but that doesn't make it any more likely, unfortunately. But Knish, how are you changing your betting strategy going into this NFL season? Are you just going completely business as usual for football? Tell me.
No, and unfortunately, and I'm a guy that loves futures, loves getting on the early market, game of the years, regular season wins, all that. For me, it just, you have to react and adapt to the situation. I've really scaled down the risk as far as the type of things that I'm putting money into in this offseason, just by the fact that one, I mean, we've talked about it with college football in a second, that if you've put any money into a lot of college football, futures or regular season, that money's going to be void. It's going to be tied up. It's not going to be in your bankroll. For me, I still playing. I think there's still value out there on some futures in that. But for me, I've taken the risk down, and what would have been, 20-30% of my NFL bankroll going into futures regular season wins in that is now being scaled down to really 5 or 10%. I'm going to be more looking to react to the information on a week-to-week basis. I think you'll find some great situational spots, COVID injury updates. If you want to stay on top of it, I think there'll be fantastic buy scenarios week to week in the NFL if you can move with the information. But there's so much uncertainty going into the season, and then what could happen, if a quarterback misses a couple weeks, yada, yada, so many different scenarios that I've had to tamper down the risk in a lot of the regular season win futures and all that. And I would suggest that you just can't go as heavy as you normally would going into a year with so much uncertainty.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And you guys heard the man. Save your money and play the season week by week. That might be your best bet. All right, well, there you have it. Knish with everything you need to know for the NFL, at least, for right now. But while we have you on, definitely don't go anywhere. We're going to bring you back for a roundtable talk. But right now, moving from NFL, of course, going down to Disney World for some basketball in the bubble. We are almost ready for the NBA playoffs. The Eastern Conference playoffs are set, and the West is just a couple of games away. And so far, the NBA bubble, it seems to be holding pretty strong. So at this time, let's welcome in Red Dave to give us a little bit of insight to this freshly reopened season that's already winding down. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well. Little shell shock from yesterday. I was playing some fantasy basketball. I didn't know what the heck was going on with the coaches. Apparently Utah's trying to tank to avoid facing the Rockets. And the Nuggets kind of decided to phase back their players' minutes. So I don't really know. As a prop player, I tend to look into the minutes, and it's been difficult to find who's going to get the minutes tonight. So I've been looking at that all day.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of uncertainty surrounding that. But Dave, I'm so glad that you're here. We need some of your professional style wisdom for some of these pretty tricky topics. And obviously we have a lot to cover. So the East is all set for playoffs. We know that. We've got the Bucks at the top of the pack, Raptors trailing right behind them. And even my Brooklyn Nets, my gorgeous Nets, are snagging a playoff spot, which I'm very over the moon about. But Red Dave, are you the man with the information? I think you are. So lay it down for us. Who actually has a chance of taking the Eastern bracket and making it to the finals?
Well, I should have thought about the Nets because I think they pulled off one of the biggest upsets in history when they beat the Bucks. I think they were 19-point dogs or so. It was incredible. But if I were going to find a nice value play, I think I'd go with the Celtics at plus 550 right now. I just have a lot of faith in Brad Stevens. Their starting five plus Marcus Smart just really impressed me. I think they got Kemba Walker starting to become healthy again. He's playing normal minutes. And another kind of nuance here is that if the playoffs started today, they would face the Sixers, who are injury depleted. I think Embiid might miss a few games. I think Ben Simmons is out for the season. So it's kind of a much better matchup for them than probably any other team in the top four would want. So that's a big edge. I think they'll get out of the first round easily. And then I think they're like 2-1 against Toronto. So if they play Toronto, I think they'll do fine against them. So yeah, at 550, I think that's probably my favorite play out there in the East.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like pretty much a lock that the Bucks will take the East, but if there's no lines you like, Red Dave says, give the Celtics a shot, and that one will hopefully give you a little payday. But Red Dave, we do have a few more games before the playoffs are all sealed up, and we start next week. This week, we have games all over. Celtics, Grizzlies starting right after this at 5 Eastern, Blazers versus Mavs, Raptors and Sixers, Heat and Thunder, and on and on. Red Dave, give us a number and give us your picks for this week in the NBA.
Well, yeah, for the most part, I don't really know what the heck's going on with some of these lines because, and even the books don't even know what's going on. They have the Mavs at 2.5 underdogs against the Blazers, and if you thought that the Mavs would be healthy, I think they'd be at least 2 or 3 point favorites here. So it looks like they expect Luka or Porzingis to not play huge minutes, and they expect the Blazers in a do or die spot to really just go ham, play Lillard and CJ McCollum like 40 plus minutes, just really going for it because every game for them is going to be critical. But I'm not really so sure because I think Dallas is fairly incentivized to get up to that 6th seed because they would end up playing the Denver Nuggets instead of the LA Clippers. And, the Nuggets are a good team, but I think the Clippers are probably the best team in the West. So I think they're incentivized to try to win a couple here and maybe get that 6th seed. So I think the Mavs at 2.5, if they're playing the way they need to play, playing to win. Yeah, I think that's just stealing today, honestly. It's just a risk. You don't know what those coaches are going to do.
Right. No, for sure. But the Mavs, I mean, honestly, they're looking good. They're sitting at 7th in the West and facing off against the Trailblazers, who are still fighting for their playoff spot. So look for the Mavs to go over tonight. And Dave, before we wrap up here, I need a little bit of info on the players this week. Who's a buy, who's a pass, and most importantly, what players do you trust to make you a little cash?
I tend to go with the players on teams that are in must-win spots, and I didn't like anything on Lillard. I think the lines are pretty accurate, but I did like Yusuf Nurkic to go over 10.5 rebounds. I just did a quick study on how many rebounds he gets per minute, and I think if he gets 30 minutes here, he's going to be a favorite to get over 10.5. But I think he'll get more like 33, 34 minutes here just because going against Porzingis, they might actually have to go up against Boban on the Mavs because he may start again with Seth Curry out today. So they may go 2 bigs at the front. So I think Nurkic could see 34, 35 minutes if he stays out of foul trouble. And another one I like is Zach Collins, the power forward on the Blazers, to go over 7.5 points. If this guy stays out of foul trouble, he's looking at huge minutes, maybe up to 30 minutes, and he's just a pretty good scorer. I think maybe that's a little bit too low. And I tried to find Luka prop bets, but they're just not putting him out there. So if you find anything on him that looks a little bit low, or even Porzingis, I would fire that. I think they're going to play decent minutes tonight. And if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. It's just my feeling.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can only kind of go off feelings and stats to a point here, but talking about Doncic for a little, to go over tonight, 23 points, if you can find it, 30 points otherwise. I mean, Luka's coming in well-rested and should be ready to play. I mean, that's at least what I'm thinking. But, all right, my friends, yeah. Red Dave says those are the players to watch this week, and that is what's going on in basketball. But, Dave, stay right there because we are going to bring our other 2 hosts back up. And, of course, I have a couple questions for all 3 of you. So welcome to the Roundtable Discussion, even though my table is rectangular, but that's fine. And, of course, we got Dave. We've got Knish and Jalen all back here for one more round of questions. And guys, we learned yesterday that the Big Ten has announced their schools will not be playing college football this fall. But then you have some schools in the Big Ten, like Nebraska, saying they still want to play. You also have some schools deciding not to play regardless of conference decisions. So this is a huge mess that we're just learning about. Will any conference decide to play? If they do, will players agree to play? Are we getting college ball back or not? Jalen, give us your thoughts first.
I mean, a lot of coaches are coming out and saying that the students are actually better off on campus than just out back home in their cities. So I think we might see some pushback seasons, but there's going to be enough teams kind of scraping it together to get a good college football season going on.
Yeah. All right. Red Dave, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the Big Ten news kind of concerned me, and I looked kind of briefly a little while ago. It looks like the Pac-10 or Pac-12 is pushing it back too, which is definitely troubling because you got 2 premier conferences out, pushing it back. Mm-hmm. If other conferences follow suit, then we're looking at probably spring football. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see just a postponement all around.
Yeah. All right. Well, Knish, what are your thoughts? I'm sure they're strong.
For my dead bodies, the SEC or my friends in the SEC going to cancel this football season. The people in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, they have no other football. Football is religion down a lifeblood. I think you could see the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, and maybe even just the SEC go about and try and play a football season, even with the other Power 5 canceling. Just because I think the SEC would love it to be the only conference playing football. And I think the spring football logistically does not work for. I could talk for an hour about reasons why you can't have spring football. I think it's just a soften the blow type thing to say now, and they'll cancel it. To me, the only way to do it is fall, and it's got to be now. I think the SEC, the ACC, some of the schools in the South that may not be as COVID conscious are going to give it a go.
All right, well, Knish says, go Gamecocks. So you heard it here. Well, I have to say things aren't looking likely for pretty much any college sports as of now. But does the Line Sniper team think college football returns? Yes or no? And of course, we think no. So that's basically what we think on that. Obviously, if anything changes in the next episode, we will let you guys know. But guys, of course, we are getting to one of my favorite parts of the night of the show. It is time to talk about your best bet of this week. Like we do every episode, I want your best bet, any sport, any game, any team player, whatever you got, from basketball to horse racing. Red Dave, you're up first. What is your go-to bet?
I have to look at the lines for tomorrow, but I'd like to play the Sixers. As depleted as they have been, they're absolutely incentivized to start looking at their roster and building rotations coming up for the playoffs, because they might be out. They're going to be out with out Simmons, and they might be out with Embiid for a while too. So they're going to probably have to get their guys playing well, and then I think their opponent is not really incentivized to win. So I'm looking for teams that have reason to try against teams that are just kind of resting and coasting until the playoffs. So Sixers for me tomorrow.
Cool. All right, you heard him, guys. Red Dave says Sixers if you can. Jalen, how about you? What do you like this week?
I'm actually eyeing the Cubs-Indians game tomorrow. I got a couple very good starters with Kyle Hendricks and Carlos Carrasco. So I haven't seen the lines out yet, but if it's anywhere around 8.5, I'd take the under on that for the full game.
All right, so Jalen's going with Cubs-Indian game, so there you go. And so far, Red Dave is with the Sixers. But Knish, finish us off. Bud, where is your bet this week?
I'm going MLS Cup Championship here. The MLS bubble almost over. Championship game, Portland, Orlando. Orlando been on a fantastic run. Great story. Huge long shot to make the final. I'm going to fade them, though. I like Portland. I think they're the better team. I think they're significantly more talented. I know Orlando City has played way above expectation in this tournament, but you can get Portland pick right around plus 110. For me, that's a play. I can't pass up. I don't think they should be at a dog in this game. Portland Timbers in the MLS Cup final. I think they're going to ship it.
I'm seeing a little connection there. Last Tuesday you went with MLS as well, but I'm liking that. A little soccer there. Switch things up. All right, guys. Well, obviously, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of everything. You guys are the best. We love having you analysts on here. You guys are experts, and that's why, you're on Line Sniper. Hello. But this is it for our episode of In the Crosshairs. Dave, Knish, Jalen, thank you guys so much for your expert advice. I hope all of you at home listen to these handsome boys and win yourselves some cash. Now, if you need any of that expert advice one more time, you can always find this show on our YouTube channel, Line Sniper HQ. And while you're there, subscribe to us. Put a little smile on our faces. We will be back on Thursday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, to talk the best of sports this week happening, best of the rest, everything, because it's going to be Thursday, and obviously the week will be coming to a close at that point. But until next time, this has been In the Crosshairs, your definitive resource for sports betting content and in-game analysis. For the team here in the studio, I'm Ali Melendez. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.